Welcome everyone. Before we begin, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share in the comments where and when you are watching. This helps YouTube deliver the best horror directly to you. What horrors lurk in the shadows of a cabin? When the forest consumes the light and silence screams, some woods weave nightmares that seep into the very walls. There are whispers binding you to terrors that claw at your soul. Tonight we unearth 3 true tales from cabins in the woods where darkness breathes dread and the trees claim their toll. Lock your doors, douse the fire, and listen closely, because some cabins mark you forever. Story 1. The walls that watched the cabins. Walls groaned at midnight, their wooden planks splitting to reveal pale, unblinking eyes staring from the grain, their sickly green glow piercing the dark like shards of ice. I was holed up in a remote cabin in the Oregon woods, escaping a bitter divorce that left me raw, my ex's accusations, "You abandoned me," echoing in my mind. The air was thick with pine and a sour metallic stench that burned my throat. Floor littered with dust and splintered wood. I'd come alone seeking peace, but the eyes appeared countless, watching from every knot and crevice, their light pulsing like a heartbeat trapped in the timber. The fire sputtered its embers, casting shadows that slithered across the floor, forming the words, "Stay here," and jagged glowing lines that shimmered with an eerie green hue. The air turned frigid, my breath fogging in clouds, as the floorboards creaked, mimicking heavy footsteps circling the cabin, each step heavier than the last. The whispers began low and guttural, speaking my name in my ex's voice, twisted hollow, accusing me of betrayal. Her words from our final fight, sharp as broken glass. A featureless figure, unnaturally tall with long limbs, and a void where its face should be, materialized outside the window, its gaze burning with the same glowing eyes. My flashlight's beam flickered across it, and a chill like frostbite crept over my skin. The walls of the cabin pulsed with increased intensity. The glowing eyes multiplied, their light blinding me, as black tar oozed across the floor, forming clawing hands. Their touch seared my ankles with acid-like pain. I bolted for the door, but it slammed shut. The words, now new and brighter, morphed into "you," and the whisper swelled into a scream that shook the rafters. The ceiling sagged, dripping tar that shaped itself into familiar faces. Isla's face, her mouth moaning my failures, my broken vows, my sleepless nights, a marriage in ruins. The cabin quaked, the windows rattling as the faces screamed louder, naming every regret I had buried deep within myself. I smashed a window with a rusty chair, my hands trembling, crawling out as the cabin groaned, the tar flooding the floor, the faces screaming my name. In a deafening chorus, I fled into the woods, the figure's shadow chasing me, its eyes glowing through the trees, their whispers roaring in my ears. I live in a city now, but my apartment walls creak at night, forming those pale eyes in the plaster, glowing faintly. My floorboards trace "Stay here" in tar, shimmering under moonlight, and my skin still burns, etched with the pain of that night. Some cabins. See your sins before you arrive. Story 2. The fire that sang. The fireplace roared at 2 a.m., its flames twisting into a pale Isla's face that hummed a warped lullaby. A haunting melody, like smoke, curled through the cabin, chilling me to the bone. I was holed up in a rented Adirondacks cabin, a refuge from a career that had crumbled, taking my savings, reputation, and hope with it. The air was thick with ash and a putrid, fishy stench that burned my lungs. My goal was to clear my head, but instead, a face in the fire grew increasingly vivid. Its mouth, a gaping chasm, began to form. Words, faintly read, as if scrawled in blood, drew closer in the flickering embers. The cabin walls trembled, their knots splitting to expose carvings, my initials, my old boss's name, my failures, all etched as if by claws, pulsing with a sickly green light. The ominous hum intensified, the air freezing, my breath catching as the floor softened, oozing black mud that formed slimy hands gripping my boots with a burning acid-like touch. Shadows danced in the corners, tall and thin, their void faces smiling with jagged, unseen teeth, their limbs stretching toward me like vines. The lullaby became a chorus, naming my regrets, missed deadlines, betrayed colleagues, a life crumbling, swelling into a scream that shook the windows, the glass cracking under the pressure. My flashlight died, then flared, showing figures rising from the mud, dripping and clawing, their eyes glowing green, their mouths moaning my mistakes. The muddy hands tightened their grip, the whispers turning into guttural accusations. You called us, the carvings, bleeding black oil. The stench of decay intensified as more grotesque faces emerged, their screams blending with the roar of the fire. Flames licked the ceiling, forming countless eyes that burned with malicious intent. I tore free, my boots sinking into the muck, and bolted for the door. The cabin seemed to lunge with the figures, their clawing hands searing my arms as I escaped into the night. The mud flooded, forming countless faces that chased me as the cabin collapsed behind. Though I escaped, my new home carries the scent of ash, and my windows fog with glowing lines that trace come closer at night. A haunting lullaby hums through my walls, and my dreams burn with the pale face that ceaselessly calls me back. Some fires want you to burn with them. Story 3. The floor that breathed the cabin's floor pulsed at 3 a.m. as if breathing its rhythm, matching my own, a sickening mimicry that froze my blood. I was hiding in a Montana cabin, grieving my sister's death in a hiking accident. I blamed myself for her last words. You should have been there haunting me. The air was sharp with rot and a coppery blood like temps, the walls creaking their knots, dripping black tar that smelled of decay. The floorboards stretched, forming my face. Silas' mouth open in a silent scream, whispering, "Stay with me." In her voice warped hollow, accusing me of letting her fall. The ceiling sagged, dripping oil that pulled into clawing hands their touch, burning my wrists with acid-like pain. The air grew heavier, the windows fogging as shadows moved outside their limbs, twisting like vines, scraping the glass, leaving wet, glowing marks that pulsed green. The face in the floor screamed my name, the tar forming my sister's face. ILA's, its mouth moving, blaming me for every silence, every fight. My flashlight flickered, revealing more faces in the oil hour. Parents, friends, their voice glaring, accusing me. The door vanished, the walls closing, in the tar flooding, shaping countless faces that echoed my guilt. The cabin shook the shadows, breaking through the windows, their clawing hands reaching their screams deafening. I smashed through a wall with an axe, my hands bleeding as the floor collapsed. The tar flooding the face is roaring. Her name I fled into the forest. The cabin crumbling, the screams chasing me through the trees. I live elsewhere now, but my floorboards pulse at night, forming my eye, less face in the wood glowing faintly green. My wrists burn with the word "stay" etched in my skin, and the air smells of rot, whispering her name in the dark. Some cabins hold your grief forever. Which of these cabin nightmares would you survive until dawn? Share your own chilling encounters in the comments. Have you ever felt the woods turn against you? Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and ring the bell for more terrors from the shadows. Something darker waits in the next cabin. We'll see you there.